We
Hey
live.
y'all, it's the Be Safe Kids. I'm Malaya.
I'm Tay.
Macy, introduce yourself.
Listen,
I'm Mason.
there we go.
Okay, look
Can
go.
y'all hear me?
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Mason, we can hear you now.
Okay.
That's Mason. And today we're going to be interviewing Denecia Herbert about her upcoming books and what she has planned for the future and how she started. Are y'all ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. First question. Denecia, how did you come about with writing your book, titling your book? What made you inspired to write one and publish one? Because I know it can be hard and stuff. So like what inspired you and what got you motivated?
Well, first, let me say is I'm excited to be here with you guys, and this is very encouraging to know that the next generation, what I'm saying, is interested in entrepreneurship, and so actually I've been a writer all my life. I've always loved to write. That was my go-to thing as far as journaling and writing stories and stuff like that, and so I really didn't get the idea to write my book until probably I think like 2015 to actually write a book. And so I was challenged to because I wanted, to be able to, pray and be like, okay, God, I need all this money to I think it was dollars to publish the book. And I was challenged to figure out within a certain time frame. I think it was 8 o'clock that night to finish my book and to know how to publish it. And I was able to do that night. And so from there, I really didn't think about actually publishing and doing it for other people. But actually, once I started doing that, it kind of just took off from there. So basically, like I say, it was always a desire to write stories, love letters, poetry, all of those different type of things. And then so over the years, it's just kind of escalated from there.
Mhm. I'm so sorry for jumping right into the question without having you introduce yourself. So do you mind introducing yourself now? I'm so sorry.
Well, hey, look, we going with the flow. So as she said, my name is Denecia Herbert, and I am the owner of Shekinah Glory Publishing, and I have been doing this for almost 10 years now. And so outside of publishing, I am a mother of three amazing adult children, um, and I am. Yeah, just at this point living life, coming into new versions of myself, and just here to just do the things that I've been purposed to do. And I think again that is through midwifing, either whether it's for author or whether it's for small business. I also have a ministry that's called Hope Reloaded. Hope stands for helping oppressed people escape, evolve, and excel. So there's a lot of things that I have been purposed to do, but I think the one thing I love the most is helping people to publish their books.
That's amazing. Tay, you can answer this one.
when you were our age, did you imagine yourself publishing a book?
Actually, no. When I was your age, I was pretty much, like the typical dreams when we were growing up was, being a nurse, a doctor, having the whole white picket fence and the kids and all that stuff. So no, I never thought about writing a book. I just it never dawned on me ever that I would be doing this.
Macy accent.
Oh, what advice would you give to the kids who want to grow up and own their own business one day?
You said, huh? I didn't hear you.
What advice would you give to the kids who want to grow up and own their own business one day?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say, for the kids who want to one day, be an entrepreneur. First of all, I would say, take your time and be a kid. That's one thing. Not jump the gun. Because as a teenage mother myself, and there's some things that I wish that I would have done different. So first thing I would say is, enjoy being a kid. And as you grow older, to make the plans, that fits you. So that's one thing I would say is make sure that it's something that you want to do, because if it's something that you want to do, something that you love to do, and you're excited about doing it, it'll be more of a passion. You'll put more time in it, and actually, when you do it, it'll be effortlessly. You'll just do it, just because it's something that you love to do. But I would say that, if at a young age that you want to be an entrepreneur, I would say to plan it out, to do the research, to make sure that it's something that fits within, who you are. Because I mean, it's a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it is a lot of work, being an entrepreneur versus, working for someone else. But it also has its rewards, because you're able to do the things that you want to do, that you love to do, the way that you want to do it. So I would say, to make sure that you research, make sure that you plan, and when you plan early, to say, okay, this is what I want to do. Once you get to that stage, it's a lot easier, because it's very easy, it's very hard to become an entrepreneur and just jump into it, because there's so many different things that, so many variables that come with being an entrepreneur, so make sure that it's a fit, for you specifically, if that's something that that you want to do.
So with that, like, with you giving advice about entrepreneurship, would you say it was difficult for you to start at first, or was it not like a breeze, but was it more easier going into that because you knew what you wanted to do? Was it easier because of that? Because I know you say you had to put a lot of passion into it, drive. So was it harder for you, or was it just automatically like ready, like?
Um, I would say it wasn't a matter of what your camera, you turn sideways. I would say it wasn't that it was harder. I would just say that because I just kind of jumped into it, I had to kind of learn as I went along, and so, and when you're learning on the go, or when you're doing, like I said, like I say, on the job training, it's a lot of errors that you make, and it's a lot of things that, mistakes that you have to correct. And, so that's why I say, even though I went to college for business management, business administration is kind of different from, I'm saying, from actually operating, a publishing company. So a lot of things I've learned within the 10 years that I didn't know at first, so there's a lot of things I can tell people today, that I didn't know back when I first started. So it wasn't a matter that it was harder. It was a matter of just, not giving up when it did get hard, or not giving up because I didn't understand. And it was just kind of like, just staying the course. And honestly, I'm still learning, because every day things change, so every day, life, the economy, everything is constantly evolving. So we're still learning, because now, like, even for example, with AI, now that we have AI and people can just, go in, write a book, just type in some words, and a book pop up, it's like now, I had to learn how to compete with AI versus just the traditional publishing. So that's why I say it's not so much a matter of harder, it's just kind of, growing with the changes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Because I know how AI can get with books, because I use AI for school a lot. But that don't matter. That don't matter. But what's the best piece of advice you've learned while growing and being ready to start a brand new entrepreneurship business? What's the best piece of advice you were given?
Um, I would say the best advice would be, like I said, to know what your mission is. To know, because one thing I've learned, just even in the last couple of years, is that sometimes we do things just because we see other people doing it, and we think, oh, okay, well, this person has success with it, so I'll have success with it. So I think the best piece of advice, like I said, is knowing, okay, if I'm doing this, what's my purpose? If I'm doing this, what's the end goal? Not just that I'm doing this just because I can make money, because again, the making money part is one thing, but it's the time, the effort, and the energy that you have to put in order for it to come to fruition. Because a lot of people get frustrated and they get tired and exhausted and they give up because they don't see the fruits of it. But I would just say not to give up, to just keep going and knowing that it's gonna all fall in place when it's supposed to.
Amen. Okay, you can answer next. Ask the next.
As you were going into your entrepreneurship, did it get easier for you? A little bit, at least.
Yeah. The more that I kept, the more that I kept doing it, it's gotten easier. Even now, like when I look back on books that I did, when I first started compared to books that I do now, I can see, the growth and, the development and, how it looks and, the difference in the covers. And so I can really look and see, where things have changed, and where the wisdom and the understanding has kicked in.
Mm-hmm. Mason. Yes, the next one.
I only had one.
Oh, you had one?
You did.
Oh, okay. My bad. I'm sorry. Okay, so okay. What was I gonna say? I'm so sorry. Not prepared. What's your favorite part about working with authors and new writers?
The favorite part of working with the authors is being able to, to be able to hear the different stories. And for us and for Shekinah Glory Publishing, one of the things that we do is that we focus on the healing aspect of the publishing journey, which means like a lot of times some people have some very traumatic stories. And so one of the things that we focus on is, kind of going through and helping the person to get the story out so that not only are they able to tell their story and help other people with their story, but they're also able to heal from some of the traumatic things that have happened in their life. So that's one of the things that I think brings me the most joy is seeing the end result of the author once the book is done, and and they are on the other side of their trauma. So that's the part that I love the most.
How can you go from someone that just has an idea of writing a book to actually publishing one?
You said how can what?
How can you go from having an idea of writing a book and going to publishing one?
So to basically to go from the idea to actually having a fully published book, it's really simple. It's like I say, once you have the idea, you have some people that that have already written their books, and so they will come to the publisher. The publisher will go through the book with them, and and then kind of go through the steps from beginning to end. And then I also have clients that want their books to be ghost written, which means that, okay, well, I don't really have the time to write this book, or I don't know where to start. So we also have clients where we literally sit down with them. They tell us their story, and we take their story and then we turn it into a book. So it just kind of depends on the individual, what works for them. So that it just depends on that, but what works for the individual client.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that um so it okay so it I have two part is your book about your personal life experiences, or is it fictional, or is it some real life and some fictional?
Well, that's the thing about it is that I have multiple books. My most recent book was it has parts of my journey in it, but it was more. The title of it is called Just Bleed, and so basically it's talking about individuals again who's gone through traumatic experiences and learning how to bleed out those things so that it doesn't cause infection within them mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and even physically. So that's what the latest book is about. But the biggest thing again outside of my book is like I've been blessed to publish a lot of different people's books, including Chandria, including we did the Be Safe Crew book, that represents you guys. And so yeah, so my latest book was about that.
Mhm.
I don't think I've actually written my book yet that entails my full journey. Because once I got started, I just kind of went full swing with publishing everybody else's book. So I haven't
Mhm.
actually just got an opportunity to fully, release the whole story yet.
Would you like to release a personal experience book, like for yourself? Like, would you want to do that in the
Oh
future?
yeah, oh yeah, most definitely. I'm actually working on it. I actually have a mandate for that book to actually be released this year, to
Mhm.
tell my journey because it has definitely been a long journey. But yeah, so I'm actually going to take some time off, and actually focus on, that perspective of releasing my own memoir. Because like I say, I have done it for hundreds of people at this point, and it's my turn.
Yes, yes. I like
Yes, yes.
it. Okay.
When you first started your business, what challenges did you face, and how did you become over it?
Um, I would say the first challenges was Laura. I think it was most literally, honestly, I think it was dealing with the clients, and it was learning. One was learning the clients. One was learning what to charge, and that's one of the hardest parts about being an entrepreneur is knowing what to charge. You know what I'm saying? Not undervaluing your work. So that was one of the hardest things that I faced.
Mhm.
Because really, honestly, I mean, it takes a lot of work to write a book, to publish it, and so I wasn't charging really nothing. But then too, I look back now, and I understand that I also needed the experience. So that was the hardest part for me because what I charged then versus what I charge now is completely different. But it was, and also, being the person that loves people, it was hard for me to charge anyway. So I had to learn the difference between business and personal. So I had
Mhm.
to really hone in to, making the difference between the two.
Mhm. How do you find time to write people's books and your books? I know, like entrepreneurship, you gotta do what you gotta do, but like, how do you find time and within your schedule? Because I know writing books is hard too.
Right. Well, I mean, it's really about balance. It's really
Mhm.
like because I mean, I could be working on like I just finished a book for my birthday because I had a mandate. But it's like I say, I finished the book for my birthday. I wrote it in like a couple of days, and it's called Procrastination leads to perfectionism leads to procrastination. And so in the process, I was still working on like three or four other people's books.
Mhm.
But it's kind of like, it's just knowing like how to balance and is knowing, what your superpowers are. One of my
Yeah.
superpowers is being detailed. So I kind of know how to, differentiate between what's what. Because I've had people
Mhm.
ask me that, like, well, don't you get the stories mixed up? And I'm like, well, no, thank God I've never gotten anybody's stories mixed up. I've always been able to know, what I'm working on at that time. So it's just basically you have to have a lot of discipline to be able to not get the stories mixed up.
Mhm.
What advice could you give to anybody who is writing a book right now?
I would say, for anyone that's writing a book right now, one thing I would say is to make sure, that if you're looking for, because there are many options right now, but one of the things I would say is to make sure, that you don't jump the gun, because sometimes one thing I've noticed about authors is that they can get overly excited, right, and jump the gun, and sometimes they're not ready. The book isn't fully, ready, to be birthed out yet. Because one thing about it is we don't call them books, we call them babies, right? And so when it comes time for the book to be completed, we literally describe it as a birth,
Mhm.
so one thing I would say, that if you are in that process of writing, to take your time, to make sure that, that you have, that you poured out everything that needs to be poured out. And when you're looking for someone to help you, to manifest a vision, make sure that you check your sources, that it's a viable company, that they have, reviews and all of those different things, because there are a lot of people that get they get bamboozled, and they end up, because I've had a lot of people come to me after they published the book and having to have it redone again because they went through such a traumatic story. So I would say to make sure that, when you're writing your book and you connect with someone, make sure that they have a heart for it. It is not just about money. Because a lot of times when it's about money only, people tend to just want to get it done and that's it. But if it's something that is in somebody's heart, to make sure that, that your story is about your testimony. Because whatever you went through, I always say this: whatever you've gone through in life will not be wasted. And whatever we go through in life is to help somebody else. So if you're writing a book, most of the time you're writing from experiences of things that you went through. And your purpose in life is to make sure that nobody else goes through that same thing. So I would say, that if you're writing a book, make sure that and let me say this: tell your truth. Don't be concerned about what other people are going to think. Don't be concerned about people judging you. Don't be concerned about trying to write it in a way, where people are going to understand it. No, tell your truth, because even though you may be writing the book, it may not be for this person, but it could be for the next person. So whatever you do, just, I would say tell your truth. And don't try to mask it with, for this particular audience or that. Just be you. I would say that, what I'm saying, just be you, and tell your truth. And I like to say, amplify your voice. Just amplify your voice, right? Because there's somebody, just because, you're in a certain group of people, and because I've seen this a lot where people are like, oh, well, the church ain't gonna understand. Well, the church wasn't there when you was going through all of the things that you were going through. So you got to be able to not put yourself in a box and be willing to, be open and honest about your journey.
Mm-hmm. So, with people wanting to become a book writer, what are the certain steps they have to take in order to get that book published?
I would say, like I say, one of the first steps once they have the book completed, I would say, look for a publishing company. Make sure you do the research on the company, and make sure that they fit, the different things that you need, as far as budget, as far as if they're offering marketing packages, if they're offering, the right type of editing. So I would say just make sure that they fit, that everything that you're looking for, that it fits within, the scope of what it is that you need. Because again, every publishing company isn't for everybody. You have your traditional companies that, you go in and they take your book and and they do what they want to do with it. And then you have the companies where you can do what's called self-publishing, whereas you have full rights and over your book. So just you have to just kind of know what it is that you are okay with. Because even when you have publishing companies, that the publishing houses, that'll give you an advance, for your work. They take a percentage of it. So you just have to kind of know what it is what you're comfortable with. If you want full rights to your book, or if you want somebody else to have full rights. So I would say, the steps would be to make sure that you research, make sure that you're comfortable with what they're offering. Make sure that if you do go with a publishing company, that you read on the dotted line and everything that you're going to get from A to Z, that they're not going to be any last minute sneak attacks or extra money and things of that nature. Just make sure that you are clear on everything that you're receiving from beginning to end. And I think that makes the experience much more better and much more easier to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Last question. How could kids and families find your books or learn about more about publishing?
You said, how can kids, huh?
How can
I
kids
didn't hear
and
you.
fam- how can kids and families find your book and learn more about publishing?
Okay. So like I said, you can find me on Facebook, on all the social media platforms under Shekinah Glory Publishing. My website is www.shekinahglorypublishing.com. And so, like I said, because we definitely love doing the kids' books, those are actually funner and more interesting to see come to fruition with all the little cute characters and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so you can find me on social media, or you can find me on my website.
Thank you so much for this interview. You are an amazing person, and I hope that your books sell out because you're queen. I'm
Thank
rooting for you.
you.
I'm
Well,
rooting
hey,
for you.
thank
But
you
yeah,
so much.
guys. Yeah,
Thank you
guys,
guys
that
for
is the
having me
end.
on.
Mhm.
That is the end of our interview. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for answering our questions with so much delight. And it seems like you were so happy to be here. And I want to thank you for that because sometimes we don't get the energy we need, and you definitely gave us the energy we need. And I love that.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much. And I hope to read one of your books one day because I need to get into reading again. But yes, you are a lovely person, and I'm so grateful to meet you.
thank you. Well, hey,
Thank
thank you,
you.
ladies. It
Thank
was
you.
a it was a blessing to be here. And hey, I look forward to you guys coming. We need to get together and do another book. So y'all reach out to me, okay?
Okay,
Okay.
All
we
right.
will.
Y'all have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.